Well, welcome to Loaded and Rolling. I'm your host, Thomas Watson. Today we're talking about technology. And this is really, really cool technology. What it does, it helps you not only combat fraud at the pump, but also helps you fuel and manage a bunch of stuff on the back end. And so we're going to dive right in with the folks from QuikQ. I've had the pleasure of talking with Rich Taute before. He is the Vice President of Sales and Strategy at QuikQ. There's been a lot of stuff, though, since we've last caught up. And I'm super excited to have him back on the show so that way we can and see what we're working on, especially with recent trends with freight fraud. You all are kind of right in the right place at the right time with this awesome tech stack. And so before we dive in, Rich, give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, Thomas, thanks for having me on board here. Been in the trucking industry 31 years, from running some of the largest truck stops in the United States, working with clients face to face at a fuel desk, to selling fuel for some of the larger truck stop chains, and operating in the fuel payment space as well. So at this point, I've got a little diesel in my veins. Kind of that's bread and butter to me, right? It's relationships are there, customer wise, vendor wise. So continue to really enjoy being in this space and working with a lot of unique companies.
So let's talk about the QuikQ platform and how it works. And then we'll dive into some of the cool stuff y'all have been working on and some of the growth you've been experiencing.
Sure. So QuikQ is a universally accepted payment instrument. So traditionally, fleets have used fuel cards, right? We do have a traditional fuel card product. We also have two cardless solutions, RFID, and also a start code where you can punch a code into a pump and be able to dispense fuel. So a lot of the market over the last year has really faced fuel fraud. You know, you talked earlier about freight fraud. This is the other fraud that's in the marketplace, is fuel fraud. It has tapered back a little bit. We had a very successful last 12 months since we were together of really helping carriers solve that fuel fraud issue, primarily through our RFID technology, which is, it's simply speaking, it's very similar to a toll tag that goes on your truck to go through the toll stations. We just do utilize the same technology with our SmartQ RFID to actually turn on a dispenser at the fuel pump. So very similar technology, very secure. 16 years, not a single fraud transaction on that payment instrument. So really been a very successful year. Our team's been working hard out in the field. Operations team, finance team's been working really hard to make sure that we can help facilitate some really solid solutions for these carriers, let them focus on things that generate revenue for their business versus worrying about fuel fraud.
And I mean, for carriers, saving costs is still key. Even when we spoke last year, the market was kind of a little bit rough, and it's still a little bit rough. And so, when we're looking at some of those goals, is it something where it's just more awareness from carriers? Is it we're seeing more adoption of the technology that's finally catching these folks?
Yeah, I think it's kind of twofold, right? Controlling the fraud. If you've experienced it, great solution for you. If you haven't, knock on wood that you don't. But at some point, every carrier knows of a carrier that's experienced that fraud. But the other piece that we've really learned over the last 12 months is the other back office benefit to a carrier. So with every RFID transaction, it's automatically assigned to the asset, meaning the truck or the trailer. So now your IFTA taxes are clean because it's always positioned to the right truck or the right trailer. Where in the past, I've been with carriers, they spend hours and hours trying to figure out, did this truck really purchase the fuel? No, it was really in this other truck. So with that RFID technology, I met with the carrier. They were spending 30 hours a month cleaning up fuel tax. With RFID, they got 30 hours of their month back.
Well, some of them are still using like paper receipts, right? They're literally sitting down at a table, like at large fleets, trying to match a receipt and figure out who it was.
Yeah, and anymore, right? You're not even required to have a receipt, right? Just generally speaking, you need billing card information. That suffices for a receipt. Carriers are using ELDs, they're using RFID. There's a lot of technology that comes to the table. But yeah, there are still folks that are, it's almost like in the freight world where you had the cards or the whiteboard of where trucks were. There are still some folks that are doing that. More and more people are really starting to adopt technology to improve their back office, though.
Well, let's talk about adoption. One of the big things is factoring companies. Lots of fleets use factoring companies. It's part of the game. They take a cut, they help process, get the payment. Talk about these fuel card programs and kind of what you all are doing in regards to that. Is that kind of an area of growth or opportunity?
Yeah, we're pretty excited. Over really next week, we'll start launching the ability to really provide a very solid fuel card platform for a factoring client. So, first mission, meet with a factoring company. A lot of them are offering fuel card programs to their clients. So, we're jumping into that space pretty aggressively starting next week. So, great time to be here. But really, just bringing another solution to the table. We're bringing our fraud technology to the table with it. We recently at a factoring conference, a lot of excitement of folks just kind of looking to see, hey, are there other options in the marketplace to take care of their clients? Because yes, they're factoring an invoice, but obviously a fuel card program with discounts and things like that help connect that factoring company and the carrier a little bit tighter. Right. So we're excited to do that, and bring our customer service team to the table as well. We'll put our customer service team up against the industry. We do a pretty good job taking care of our customers.
And so it's kind of a win-win because I know back in the day when we talked, one of the big things was kind of dinosaur antiquated fuel cards, didn't tell you what you needed, really just kind of stuck with one spot. So this is like a new evolution where now even factoring companies are willing to partnership, build these relationships, and it's kind of end to end for these.
Yeah, and the factoring company is funding an invoice. The factoring company can load funds to a QuikQ prepaid account for that carrier on the fly, real time. And when a carrier needs money, they need that money right now because they're trying to fuel their truck, right? So there's a very simple ecosystem to move that money around from the factoring company into the carrier's fuel card account or fuel payments account over at QuikQ. Seamless, all the balancers are viewable by the carrier, and they pick up all the technology and service levels that we provide. So at that point, it's getting money to that carrier as fast as possible so they can continue to roll down the road, which in turn is another invoice to fund, right? So it's this ecosystem of money is what's happening.
So then it's like I'm already processing your load payments. Now I'm gonna help you with your fuel invoice. But by the way, I want to partner with somebody so that way I don't get ripped off and you don't get ripped off. So that's that final piece of it is also making sure that fraud and the trust is established.
Right. And if there's using our RFID technology, we know that asset was at a truck stop at a specific pump, right? So there are intel points that a factoring company can also utilize, right? If they have some questions, hey, this load went from Phoenix to Chattanooga. Well, did they buy fuel en route? We can actually tell if that truck has an RFID tag, did they really fuel en route versus just a card being swiped, right? That asset is verified at the pump, right? So there's some other fraud deterrent things that we can provide through that technology for the factor at the end of the day.
I thought when I spoke with you once, we worked on an article one time, and it was really fascinating how the RFID also helps because drivers would pull forward, still use their fuel card, and then try to like get cash off the side. I didn't know how prevalent that was. I heard that at telematics conferences. I heard that at other random conferences, and I didn't know how ubiquitous it was. So with the RFID technology, it's really as soon as you go past that area, you can't just try and let the other truck pull in.
Correct. And once that tag disengages from the antenna, we'll turn the dispenser off, even though the nozzle's still sitting on the ground. As a truck stop operator in my career, I've witnessed that and with my own eyes, right? Seen that cash exchange, seen it in action. But the other piece that RFID solves for versus using an ELD solution, an ELD just verifies that the truck's in the geofence of a truck stop. There's still a fuel card transaction. I've seen dash cam video of a driver who cleared the ELD screening but still sold fuel to another truck, right? So it's safer, right? The ELD solution is safer than not having it, but the RFID is even a step better than just using ELDs to ping a truck.
And when we're talking about other things like two-factor authentication was big, dashboards, has that been something in terms of, I know you were talking about introducing it last year. Give us some of the feedback and stuff as you all have been rolling this new tech out.
Yeah, the secure swipe technology is a very, very simple yes/no text. Thomas, you just swiped your card at this truck stop in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Was that you? Y or N? If you hit Y, we let you keep going. If you hit N, we turn off your card, we don't allow the transaction to proceed. So a very simple process. Most drivers out there have a smartphone that can take a text message, and it's a very simple wire end response, right? So we've had a lot of our customers deploy that. We've used that on fuel cards and our start code non-carded payment solution. We can roll that in there as well. And it's just another safety point, right, with these drivers, right? At that point, if there's fraud, it's probably more of an internal fraud situation because a driver authorized the transaction saying they were at the dispenser.
And one of the big challenges is making sure they're not buying things they're not supposed to. Is that something where with this platform I can make sure? I'm assuming, like, let's say I have a 300-gallon tank. If I see more than 300 gallons, can I automatically get a heads up and I know, oh, that guy's trying to fill his reefer up or something?
Yeah, yeah. And we've got alerts that are set up. We set gallon minimums or maximum mins and maxes on gallons for truck and trailer. But the other piece from if back to RFID once again, each tag is uniquely configured. So a truck RFID tag can only purchase dispensed diesel fuel and dispensed DEF. It can't purchase reefer fuel because it's the reefer trailer that really purchases the reefer fuel, right? So a trailer tag is configured only for reefer fuel. A lot of times you'll see drivers that are filling the reefer fuel up, but it's still being billed as truck fuel, which throws all the IFTA off at that point, right? You've over purchased road fuel because some of those gallons actually went in the trailer. So once again, RFID cleans up that fuel tax component and makes sure, right, that the fuels are getting in the right tank. We've really cleaned up a lot of back office work for people this last year. It was eye-opening to me. I always thought it was there, but actually to getting some feedback from our customers, it's like, gosh, we got 30 hours back. We got 2 hours back. Gosh, we don't have this issue anymore. It's been a nice 12 months fixing issues for customers.
What's the biggest thing you see on the back office? Because I know when I worked at a large carrier, there's a fuel department. We always told the driver, well, I gotta transfer you to somebody else if you want to stop, fuel out of route, get permissions, get approval. What's the biggest pain point these folks are dealing with on that fuel side?
Yeah, I think when you really look at it, if a driver's unable to fuel, the carrier's unable to generate revenue, right? Fundamentally. So a driver stuck at a truck stop, they can't purchase fuel. Does the fleet know how to research what's going on? Why does Thomas's card not work? If I need to call customer service, is my call being answered in less than a minute, or is it taking me 15 minutes to get to someone? We're typically under a minute, and you're talking to a human being. But a lot of it is the back office tools that we provide. We can educate a customer and really allow them to triage why a transaction didn't clear. The driver entered the wrong unit number. The driver's at an unauthorized truck stop. The driver's not authorized to purchase that product that they're trying to purchase. I think anymore in today's society, we don't want to call a call center. We want to just fix things ourselves. So we allow our customers, if they will take a little bit of time to learn our system, they can triage all those transactions. We'll gladly take a call 24/7, but I think most fleets want to be able to fix it and move on because they've got a driver stranded.
That was one of the wilder ones I saw was that drivers, if you fueled at the wrong fueling station, as in there's a cluster of 3 of them and you pick the most expensive one, is that something I'm assuming I can do as well as saying, I'm taking my RFID, I'm going to make sure it only should have been at this one?
Correct. So we have the ability to leave our network wide open. We have fleets that pare it down to certain chains. They'll pare it down even further within the chain. So it's very scalable on what you want to do. From a fuel perspective, you're looking at the price of fuel less your IFTA tax, and that's how these carriers are normally deciding on where to fuel. But we've got all those levers, right, that a carrier can flip to keep it as open as they want or make it as controlled as they want.
And for folks unfamiliar with IFTA, I've had to deal with it in passing. Thankfully, I've never really had to deal with IFTA. It was a super pain in the neck. Is that where you need to have all your miles and your fuel reported so that way they can tax you for the amount on the road? Or what makes it such a big deal that it's kind of been like this low-hanging fruit from a while and you spend like 30 hours a month dealing with it?
Yeah, a lot of it too, right? It's your quarterly IFTA statement. It's similar to, I always use this example because it hits better with people. It's your income tax. You either overpaid during the year or you underpaid, right? So Uncle Sam's going to send you a check back or you're sending a check to Uncle Sam, right? Depending on how you set your allowance is up personally. So IFTA is the same way, except it's by state, right? So if you bought too much fuel in Tennessee and you underbought in Georgia, you're going to have a credit in Tennessee and you're going to have to pay Georgia. So the same personal income tax, analogy that I use is how IFTA works. So by really looking at all those components and knowing that the gallons are going in the right asset, that helps compress the time it takes to put those together. So you can imagine a fleet with 500 trucks. If their unit numbers aren't really tied to an RFID tag or really locked down, I could have been in truck 200 yesterday. It's now in the shop. I'm in 300, but I put in truck 200 when I purchased my fuel. So now they've got to go back and figure out, well, Rich, you were in a loaner truck, right? So those little things like that, that's time and money, right? That someone in the back office now has to clean up. So once again, RFID eliminates all that issue.
That's the forensic fuel accounting.
It is.
basically.
It is.
Talk about the customer service aspect. You said, oh, the minute I feel really bad. When I was a fleet manager, it took like 15 minutes to get a hold of me on average. Sometimes their soul has already left their body by the time they talk to me.
Yeah. I think, part of what we want to do is provide the best possible service, right, to our customers. That's in a bunch of different areas. It's our team, my team that's out visiting with carriers. It's our customer service team that's within our operations department. It's our technical team and our finance team. But it's really operations and sales that interface with the customer. And we can't take every call. My sales team can't take every call. So the carriers are calling in. If it's a bad day, we're barely over a minute and you're talking to someone, right? We have escalation plans in place. If you were to call in, Thomas, and within about 5-6 minutes, I can't fix it as a tier 1 agent, we have a process to bump it up to a tier 2 agent, right? We know time is money. You've probably got a truck stranded somewhere. And once again, you're not creating revenue in your business because this driver can't fuel. So we put a lot of time and effort into it, a ton of statistics that we watch from why are people calling in. We see people calling in for this same issue all the time. We take that issue back to technology and say, what can we do technology-wise to eliminate this pain point for a customer or to eliminate this call, right? So part of it is taking care of the issue, educating them how to take care of it on their own if possible, but also analyzing the call data that comes in and why are they calling? Can we improve our system? Can we create a better user interface for fleets? Because they want to be self-service, right? The larger the fleet is, they don't want to talk to you, right? So why not bring that same methodology down to even a guy or gal with one truck, right? That's what we're trying to do.
Give them that quality. And then, you know, it also helps when you're thinking of that customer service aspect. Have you noticed that, I guess, as you're bringing in more of these customers, is it smaller fleets, larger fleets? Is there a profile of, over the past year that are fleets that are looking to adopt? Because I have a theory that as the market has continued to kind of languish, I do wonder if the smaller fleets are like, man, I really got to look at technology now. Because if you're a large fleet, it's more of like, I need better technology.
Yeah, I think, the small fleet space, what I'm hearing in the market is we're coming out of the freight trough a little bit. I think that's what you guys are starting to see as well. So I think that piece there is helpful for that smaller fleet because they're taking a lot of load board freight and things like that, right? So the challenge really becomes how do you get them to just slow down for a minute and understand the technology? We have folks that are fueling with us without a card, one, 2, 3 trucks up to 1,200 trucks, right? So if you like technology, you're going to listen. If you don't like technology, we'll give you the old trusty piece of plastic, right? And give you some fraud prevention tools along with it. But I think more and more companies are starting to understand that. Our sweet spot's really been bigger over the last 12 months, much bigger than in the past. Fraud in those bigger companies amounts to a lot more money, right? From a fuel fraud perspective. There's a lot of things in the marketplace that we do a little bit more strategically versus our competitors about how we deactivate a payment instrument uniquely versus some of our competitors, right? And that's the part where we start getting calls when fleet's impacted and we have a relationship with a prospective customer and they're impacted because of fraud technology that disables an entire fleet at times. We get a call, right? And that's happened. And we spun up a pretty good sized fleet in about 10 minutes, the entire fleet.
So you could get hacked in a certain way and it shuts off all fuel cards because it's kind of full stop. We don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah, and all the fuel card companies, we all have our logic and our technology, and I applaud everyone in the industry from the billing card side to the truck stop partners that are out there. Everyone's fighting this, right? We're all trying to fight together. We're all bringing our solutions to the table. So I applaud everyone for what they do from that perspective, because we've got to keep these trucking businesses rolling or we all aren't going to be here, right? So everyone's doing their thing. Everyone has a little bit different flavor of how they attack that. And some of them are a little more aggressive than others. We're just very tactical. And we feel we've got a really good way to identify, is this issue a mountain or is it a molehill, right? At the end of the day. And let's not treat it all like it's a mountain, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you can't just cut down the whole forest if you got one or two bad trees.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. That's it. Exactly.
Looking ahead, we got a little bit of time left here. Partnerships, collaborations.
Sure.
It's all the, when we're, you recently talked about, and we talked about earlier on in the segment, the fuel card programs for factoring companies. What do you kind of see kind of forward looking next 6 months to 12 months? What's on the radar for y'all?
Yeah, I think continuing to build relationships and with factoring companies, other business that are reselling a fuel card. Maybe they've got fuel programs, but they need a payment instrument for those programs. Continuing to grow our truck stop merchant network. We'll have a press release out in the next week or so on a larger merchant that's coming on board. So we're excited about that. And really just trying to expand our footprint from a technology standpoint. I've been to a lot of conferences the last 2 months. We're meeting with everyone. What do you do? Is there a reason why we should be talking to each other? Can we bring better solutions, working in tandem, right, to the industry? So a lot of it, technology is moving at light speed, as they say. So we've got to run with it and just really see what people are looking at and what's being presented to carriers. And a lot of that feedback is from the carrier. Like I know some pretty large fleets. I was like, hey, tell me about your experience with this vendor. What does it do for your business? And the greatest part about trucking, everyone's just really open about it, right? We can compete for freight all day long, but we would answer each other's question, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm still in this industry. I like that camaraderie. We know we're going to battle for a minute on a piece of freight, but on the other side of it, you got a technical question, I think most fleets are willing to help. So I think looking forward the next 6 to 12 months, a lot of technology stuff that we're looking at doing, enhancing our customer experience within our portal, enhancing that driver experience through digital out on the road, merchant acceptance, things like that. So a lot of really exciting things going on within our company.
Also got to give you the loaded and rolling award. We haven't mentioned AI or machine learning once, and that has been the buzzword for everything like slapping barbecue sauce on some ribs.
It has been. The conferences I've been at, I call it the AI pixie dust is what I call it. There's a spot for it, right? I think we all use it. We're at different capacities. But at the end of the day, trucking is very much person-to-person business, right? I want my team going out and visiting with the customer. I want our operations and customer service team talking to a customer. You can respond with a bot, right? Sometimes those bots are really strong. Sometimes I personally end it because there's just too many questions, right? So there's room for all that, definitely. We use a little bit of it today and we'll continue to do that. But trucking is such a relationship business, right? And I hope people are seeing that, not just in trucking, but all around. It's a person-to-person deal every single day, right? I want to have the ability to pick up a phone and talk to you.
High touch, white glove, build trust.
Yep, that's it exactly.
Well, speaking of building trust and learning more about QuikQ, getting in touch, especially with your products and new offerings, if folks want to get more information, what's the best way to find out?
Yeah, easiest way to go find more about our company is QuikQ.com, and that's QuikQ.com, no C in the quick. At the end of the day, a lot of great information on there. If you've got some questions, you've got a way on there to reach out to us, whether you're a truck stop, a technology provider, or a fleet. we will call you back pretty quickly if you send us over a note. But anything else we can do to help in the industry, or if folks out there have questions as a result of this session today, happy to answer. Part of our experience out in the field is fixing problems for carriers, not necessarily selling them something.
Yeah.
Right? Because you become a trusted partner, and that's what we're really about.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Well, Rich, it was a pleasure getting to catch up. We're going to catch up again soon, and really, really excited. Super excited to see those upcoming releases as well.
You bet. Watch the headlines. We got some cool stuff coming.
All right, that's going to be a wrap for this episode. If you're just joining us, we'll be on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, wherever you can find your podcast needs. While you're at it, sign up for the Loaded and Rolling newsletter. It goes out every Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Been an absolute pleasure today. I will catch you all next week.